Obviously we have an inequality in front of us. I know that because of the greater than or equal to sign. I know that when I'm solving this, I can treat this very similarly. I can treat it just like it's an equation, very similar to an equation in its solving, in its problem solving process. So 2x plus 4 greater than or equal to 24. What I'm going to do here is do the opposite. To get the variable by itself, I'm going to do the opposite. All right, to get the variable by itself. All right. Remember, when you're mathematically solving an equation or an inequality, that's what you're doing. You're doing the opposite to get the variable by itself. All right, that's why I did minus 4. Minus 4 because it's the opposite of adding 4. The symbol stays. 24 minus 4, like a good little math student. I'm over here to the side writing this down. Subtraction means add the opposite. All right, that's a positive 24 and a negative 4. That's different signs. So 24 minus 4 is 20. It's positive because 24 is larger than 4. And when you have different signs, you subtract and use the sign of the larger number. So the 20 is positive. All right, now what's happening with the negative 2 and the x? That's a multiplication problem. That's negative 2 times, or that's negative 2 being multiplied by x. The opposite of multiplication is division. So I'm going to divide by negative 2. That, of course, cancels. Opposite operators cancel each other out. Do the same thing on the other side. I'm left with x. What happens to my inequality symbol? This is the only thing that's different about equations and inequalities. When you multiply or divide by a negative, I just divided by a negative, didn't I? Yes, the inequality symbol flips. Instead of being greater than or equal to, it now becomes less than or equal to. Okay? Division, 20 divided by negative 2, that's going to be a negative answer because different signs means negative answer on division. 20 divided by 2 is, of course, 10. Alright, so I go up to my number line and I'm going to plot this on my number line. I see that I made a mistake when I drew my number line. I apologize for that. All supposed to be negatives inside there, so make sure you get a second. Apologize for making that mistake. Give you a second to make sure you got those negatives on there. Now we're going to plot this. X is less than. Less than means what? Less than means I go to the left. Less than means I go to the left. So I am at negative 10. Why is it a closed circle? It's closed because it has the or equal to. If it didn't have the or equal to, or if it didn't have that bar underneath it, then it would be an open circle, which is basically just a circle that's not filled in. Alright? We said less than meant to the left, so I'm just going to shade this thing to the left. And that is graphing or solving inequalities. Okay? Alright, so now we have an equation on the board. Let's solve this. Remember, to mathematically solve an equation or an inequality, all I have to do is the opposite. I got to do the opposite to get the variable by itself. So currently, the 4 is first. The 4 is at the beginning of the question. So there's nothing happening to that 4. Okay? So what is the opposite of 4? Correct. Negative 4. Opposite operators cancel each other out. Alright, now I want to say something real briefly. I did not subtract 4. Okay? Some of you want to look at this like that's add, so I subtract. That's not the case. This addition is going with this part. Okay? The add goes with this part. It's not with the 4. The 4 is at the beginning. Okay? So I just want to really make sure you understand that I didn't do minus 4 because that was add. I did negative 4 because that was positive 4. Opposite operators cancel each other out, like I said. 0 minus 4. Subtract means add the opposite. Opposite signs means subtract. 0 plus negative. It's negative 4. Okay? No reason to talk about that anymore. Alright, drop down what's left over. N over 5. Now, what am I supposed to do with the n over 5? What's happening with the variable right there? It's being divided. What's the opposite of division? Multiplication. And that's what it looks like. Parentheses with the 5. Parentheses with the 5. What happens to opposite operators? Cancel each other out. What am I left with? N is by itself. What's happening right here? Multiplication. So let's multiply. What's 5 times 4? 20. When they have different signs on multiplication, what does that mean? Negative answer. So n is equal to negative 20.